welcome to the Estudillo House here in beautiful San Jacinto. It's nice to see all of you coming out here today as we honor our representative, Mary Bono Mack. So glad to have you all here today. We have a lot of wonderful speakers here today that are going to talk about this campaign and about Mary, and I want to recognize some public officials that are here today, and those that are running for office. We appreciate you being here as well. We're going to recognize you. First, a gentleman that we've all known for a long time, has been a wonderful steward in Washington for us, Representative Jerry Lewis, who's retiring this year. Representative Jerry Lewis. And one of Hemet Valley's favorite sons, a gentleman that served us both at the assembly level and now at the state level, Senator Bill Emerson. Bill. On the San Jacinto City Council, Councilman Scott Miller. Scott. Also from the city of San Jacinto, Councilman Alonzo Ledesma. Alonzo. Also from the city of San Jacinto, Councilman Mark Bartel. From our sister city here in Hemet. And let me tell you, working relationships between the city of Hemet and San Jacinto have never been better. And a lot of that is because of people like Linda Krupa, city councilwoman, city of Hemet. We also have a couple of former council members that were wonderful partners when I was on the Temecula City Council and did a lot to improve the quality of life in Hemet. Lori Van Arsdale, former city council member. Lori. Her passion this year, as well as mine and this whole valley, is this is the 90th anniversary of the Ramona pageant. So, and we are going to make it special this year, right, Lori? And also we have former council member Robin Lowe. Robin, where are you? We also have some candidates running for election.
Which one?
Rick Kermini for the city of Hemet, San Jacinto. City of Hemet, sorry, city of Hemet. Bonnie Wright for the city of Hemet, City Council. Cristo Ruiz, City of San Jacinto, City Council. And we also have running for the U.S. Senate, Elizabeth Emkin. Let's give her a warm welcome here today. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. I always say, if we forgot anybody, please raise your hand so we can recognize you if you're an elected official. If not, we're going to begin our program here today. My friends, I think you'll all agree with me that this is one of the most important elections in U.S. history. All eyes all over the world are going to watch and see what happens here on Tuesday. I will say, in my short 20 years of public service, I have never seen so many contested races. I have never seen so much money from outside our area coming in to effectuate who our local representatives are. But I think we can all come to one good conclusion, that Representative Mary Bono Mack has been an outstanding representative for our area. And I say that because Mary will always take my call. I know she takes all city council members' calls. We go visit her regularly in Washington, D.C., where she works tirelessly on our behalf. And this election is more important than any of the previous ones, because she's not only fighting against one Democratic opponent, she's fighting against the Democratic establishment. She's fighting against Nancy Pelosi, and I think you'll agree with me, we're not going to let Nancy Pelosi tell us how to run Southwest Riverside County and the County of Riverside. But not only do we need to elect Mary to Congress, but we also need to pick the right president, because we have a Congress that needs to work with a president that's going to sign the bills and veto the appropriate bills. And I'm very proud to be the co-chair for the Mitt Romney campaign for Riverside County. And so we need to also remember, when we go to that ballot box, we vote for Mary, but we got to vote for Mitt Romney. and all of our Republican colleagues that we want to represent us.
It'll be a landslide.
And it's hopefully going to be a landslide. You know what? I heard on the radio coming up here that they're boasting that the Democrats have this larger percentage in the state of California, and it's just a foregone conclusion that Democrats are going to take major offices. And it's my hope that the Democrats just stay home in this election. Would it be something if Mitt Romney won California if the Democrats didn't come out? We'll be talking more about the issues here shortly, but I have a number of colleagues that want to tell you some news about their races or themselves, or about why they support Mary Bono. And first is going to be somebody that is probably going to be a minority here today. We have a token Democrat here today that wants to tell you why he's supporting Congresswoman Mary Bono for re-election. I'm very excited. He is a Temecula resident, where you know I'm from. I just got a chance to know him, and he's going to tell you why, as a Democrat, he's supporting Mary Bono Mack. And please welcome, a warm welcome for Frank Russvold. Frank?
Well, thank you, Jeff. I really do appreciate that. And thank you, Mary, for inviting me out to speak today. It's such an honor to finally meet you and just share with everyone why I support you so much. Now, I know what you all are thinking, what in the world is a Democrat doing at a Republican campaign rally? And, you might be surprised to know that I am a Democrat, and I do think that it is essential that we re-elect Mary Bono Mack for Congress. My uncle always told me, the man who raised me, that you are a sum total of your life experiences. Now, if this is true, then we can definitely learn a lot about ourselves over the course of our lives. And those moments that shape our lives are what shape our values and what shape what we believe in and who we support. And I think there's no better way to do that than to get to the voting booth. It is our greatest right as Americans. And I think that everyone, no matter what party you're affiliated with, no matter who you support or what ideals you have, get to the polls, because that is the only way that your voice will be heard, and I think it is essential.
Woo!
So obviously I'm here as a Democrat to talk to you about why I support someone like Mary Bono Mack. Well, first of all, it's quite simple, really. She has a proven record that she's been running on for over a decade, and I think it speaks for herself. I'm only going to get into a couple of things because I could go on a laundry list for all of the wonderful things that Mary Bono Mack has done for this wonderful state, and she will continue to do after we re-elect her on Tuesday. As a Democrat, one of the biggest things that I really, really loved was in 2000. She established the Santa Rosa and San Jacinto Mountains as national monuments, and I think that that is something that deserves to be applauded forever. She's had her fingers in so many different things. It's incredible how much she gets accomplished. She sponsored legislation that provides funding for obesity studies, improved nutrition programs nationwide, autism research, AIDS research. She did the SPY Act. It goes on and on of the things that she has done. And really, as a Democrat, what I really want to talk to you guys about is bipartisanship. I think that in this day and age, Jeff kind of touched on it. This is the most contested election. There's so much money being thrown in it from all angles. And, I just want to share with you what the definition of bipartisan is, because I think sometimes it gets forgotten in our daily election cycles. Bipartisan basically means a political situation, usually in the context of a two-party system, in which opposing parties find common ground through compromise. What a concept, right?
What an idea.
But just so you know, you got to vote for Mary Bono Mack because she exemplifies this. She not only stands for everything she believes in, but she spearheads so many different things that work with fellow Democrats that get passed that affect us on a daily basis. The STOP Act, when she worked with Bill Keating just this last year to pass a law requiring tamper-resistant prescription painkillers. To me, that is huge. And if you haven't caught up on that, you really need to, because it is a great, great bill. And then how about this? She sponsored the Internet Freedom legislation, and just FYI, it was approved unanimously, 414-0. I applaud you for doing that. Now, on a side note, I know that Mary is a USC alum, and I absolutely love that. So at first, I just want to say, fight on. And, you know, she majored in art history, and while she attended USC, and although she may be the only one to get this joke, I just have to say it. You know, we have to get Mary reelected because, as you know what they say, if it ain't Baroque, don't fix it. How about other historical things that Mary has accomplished? To me, you know, I can say that, you know, as the subcommittee chairman, which is one of the oldest, most powerful committees in our land, it's been around since 1795. And I'm so proud to say that Mary Bono Mack is the first Republican woman in 216 years of its existence to be the chairman. You know that glass ceiling they're always talking about? Well, she pretty much shattered it. Mary stands for alternative fuels. Technology is something she cares about so much in this day and age, how important it is. Job creation, consumer protection, and taxpayer protection. These are all of the wonderful things that she stands for, that as a Democrat, I have to support her because she has the right ideas and she has the right way of doing it. She basically knows her stuff. I mean, have you seen her in a debate? I mean, I'm not even going to mention the RR word today. But sheesh, I mean, all I want to say is that, you know, the RR word doesn't even really belong in the same playing field as Mary, and that is the truth. And for anybody who's confused, I'm not talking about Rolls-Royce, okay? But like I said, in today's political age of constant negativity, it's so refreshing to me, especially as a Democrat, to see somebody so passionate about what they're doing for our state like Mary. She works with others. Her goal is to make our lives better. And I know that as long as she keeps that on the centerpiece of her beliefs, I know that she will always support us. She will always make the right decisions for us. And it is necessary and it is so important that we get to the polls on Tuesday. Now, all of my reasons that I've just listed for supporting Mary, they've been, you know, political in nature as far as I agree with her on these issues. But there is also a very personal reason that I do support her that she may not even be aware of yet that I want to share with you. So, I actually married my high school sweetheart, and unfortunately after our first 2 years of college, she was diagnosed with brain cancer. We had a 5.5-year journey that was beautiful in so many aspects, very sad and tragic in others. But I can stand here today and I can say I'm everything that I am because of the life that I had with my wife. I went from a young, frustrated teenager, you know, in high school and my childhood to just, I'm the calmest person you'll ever meet. You know, I'm very patient, I'm very passionate, and I owe that everything to my late wife, Jessie, and I want to recognize that. And the reason why, you know, that I wanted to bring that up is because my wife passed away 3 years ago, and I look at Mary and I see everything that she has done in her life personally, politics aside, and I can't help but say I thank you so much because it gives me hope to know that I can find love again, and I thank you for that. And finally, what I want to share with you is just I wish my other fellow liberals can see what I see in Mary. She is, in my opinion, the hope of the two parties to work together. There are literally only a handful of people on either side of the aisle that are willing to do the hard work that it takes to come up with wonderful, amazing bills that are sponsored by both Democrats and Republicans. As a bleeding heart liberal, I'll tell you this, without you booing me too much. I'll tell you that it is essential for our country to have wonderful, amazing liberals and conservatives that can work together for the betterment of the American people. And I think that Mary Bono Mack is the perfect person to represent the conservative side. And so the last thing I want to share with you is we cannot get complacent. We're 3 days out from this election. Jeff made it very clear how close these races are, how important it is that we get the word out. Go knock on your neighbors' doors. See who they're out supporting. Tell them why you're supporting who you're supporting. And I really hope that we can take these next 72 hours and do everything that it takes to make sure that Mary Bono Mack gets reelected. And the reason why I say we cannot get complacent is because if you look at the pattern, You know, in 2006, Mary won by 60%. She had 60% of the vote. 2 years later, she got 58% of the vote. And with the redistricting that has happened recently, it is so important, more now than ever, to get out, to make the phone calls, to go door knocking, to call your friends. This is not an election for people to be sitting at home. We need to get them to the polls. And so I appreciate the opportunity to come out here, and I just want to say, make sure everybody goes out on Tuesday and re-elects Mary Bono Mack. Thank you.
Wow. He's from Temecula. You might be running for city council here very shortly. You get a pretty good speech. Our next speaker is a great partner in really establishing great public safety programs in the valley here, working with the Hemet City Council and working with the County of Riverside. He is my friend. I've enjoyed working alongside of him, and that's San Jacinto City Council member Alonzo Ledesma.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. And after that speech, let me tell you, I can't even talk. Anyway, well, I would like to thank all of you for being here. And I got a phone call. No, actually, I was, Mark came to me and asked me, I said, Alonso, I understand you're a Democrat, and I would like to come over and do a little speech. And I said, I'm sorry. You came here a month and a half too late. I just switched to the Republicans. I'm sorry, but I'll be more than happy to come out. And all these stories starts, and you know, in the Hispanic community, sometimes we're very, we don't have enough information on what's the Democrat and what's Republican. And when I became a citizen, the first person that I actually contact was, guess what? Who? The office of this person, Mary Bono Mack. Why? Okay, I didn't know the law. I came from Mexico. Thank God and thank my dad that he's in heaven. He brought me in legally from Mexico. And when I became here, I figured, well, what is the difference being being legal and being a citizen? And I started finding out the right way, and then I figured I want to try to study to go to get my citizenship. So I did. I went to my first appointment in Los Angeles, and they got me all kinds of questions, at least 15 questions, and the officer shook my hand. Congratulations, you're a citizen. Oh, great. He walked away. Within 3 to 4 minutes, he came back, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm regret. You cannot be a citizen. Wow. Why is that? He says, you were never registered to select services. You've been here, you're still under the age of 21. I said, okay, that's not a problem. I can register right now. I'm still in the age of 21. So what I did, I used to work in Palm Springs, Cathedral City. I went out to the nearest post office and I registered. So I went back to immigration, and they said, I'm sorry, you cannot become a U.S. citizen until, I believe they said 10 years. And I said, why is that? He says, because we penalize you for not being registered. You have been here for so many years legally, and you're penalized. I said, okay. So I talked to my boss back then, and he goes, you know what? Let me ask that question. And he was the first one to contact Mary Bono Mack office. And I says, Alonso, they said to go ahead and apply again. I did. You know, I never give up, as my colleagues know. I don't give up that easy. So I went back, and long story short, Mary's letter was not there. So here it goes. Congratulations again, and the whole 9 yards, and they sent me home, and they said, I'm sorry, you can't become a citizen again. Gosh. All right, so the third time, the immigration called me up and says, Alonso, we have a letter that you need to reapply it again. And I did. This is like within 4 years lapse. And I did. I applied again. And when I got there, there was a letter I didn't know what specifics of that letter. I don't get to see it, but my understanding was from the office of Mary Bono Mac, which, thank you, Mary. Thank you. Whatever you put in that letter, I became a citizen. And I was so glad. But let me tell you another story. When I became over and swore to become citizen, and this is probably a message to all of these Hispanics in general. When I walk out right outside in the alleys, there were these two booths. One that says Republican, one that says Democrat. So the Democrat jumped all over me. He says, "Oh, you're a Mexican. You need to be, you're a Democrat." Okay. Where do I sign? Right? And then I figured, wait a minute. Why is, all right, I'm a Democrat, that's fine. But here comes the first election, and then I vote for George Bush as the president. I said, wait a minute. And then I keep choosing Republicans, and I say, why? Because they're doing a better job in representing the city. So I did all that for quite a few years. And one day, talking to my colleagues, I don't remember if it was Mark or Scott, or probably both of them, I cornered them. I said, you know what? Let me ask you a question. Why is the difference between, and what do I need to do to change? Is all you need to do, Alonso, go to the DMV or post office. That day I went to post office, DMV, all over the place. I couldn't find any registration form, so I asked Scott, can you bring me one from Riverside, which he did, and this is approximately a month and a half ago. Well, thank you, Scott. And we're all here to support Mary Bono Mac. I believe that she will be our representative again. Okay, and at the same time, I would like to thank the musicians to come out for very short notice that I give them. They didn't say no. Alonso will go, and my understanding is we have one also Democrat, and he says, I'm here to support Mary Bono Mac. So let's give a round of applause to the musicians. Thank you very much. I also invite quite a few people. Leanne, thank you for being here, sir. I know you're a Republican. My respects to you. And I also have respects for Antonio Marino. He's one of my co-workers at my office. And he says, Alonso says, I'm a Democrat. What do I need to do there? He said, just came out. You know, just come out and do a support. And he is here. Thank you, Antonio. I know you're a Democrat. You should be out here speaking instead of me. With that, all I can say, thank you. Thank you all for being here. And Mary, I really wish you the best. And one thing I know for sure, you got one vote already, and that's me. That's my vote. It's already been sent in. So if you can always count on my vote, and my vote is in. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Councilman Ledesma. We appreciate all your support. And you know, Mary understands the importance of public safety in all of our communities, and that's why she has the support of many public safety agencies, including, I saw Hammett Fire with the red shirts out there. We're delighted to have your support. And today we also have the Palm Springs Police Officers Association Representative William Hutchinson, who's like to say a few words about Mary.
Good morning. Still morning? Afternoon? Just afternoon. My name is William Hutchinson. I am the president of the Palm Springs Police Officers Association. I am proud to stand in support of Mary Bono Mac. Our association, along with PORAC, the Peace Officers Research Association of California, who represents more than 64,000 law enforcement officers in the state of California. I also stand up here with members of the Hammett Fire Association, Hammett Police Officers Association, and other local law enforcement organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, this decision, this election, is between a congresswoman who has always been a strong supporter and friend of law enforcement, and a challenger who has declared his solidarity with men who murder police officers. You've heard from officers that we cannot accept someone praising cop killers to represent us in Congress. It's been a week since we last heard from Raul Ruiz and expressed our concerns, and we're still waiting for him to take responsibility for his rhetoric. I don't think we're ever going to get satisfaction from him. I'm proud to stand on this stage with Mary Bono Mack, who is a strong supporter for law and order, a good friend to police officers and first responders throughout the district. Thank you, Mary. Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack has helped police departments from Hemet to Palm Desert to Cathedral City gain grants that have brought better equipment, better training, and community programs to reduce crime and convince young people to stay away from criminal activities. She has consoled families of law enforcement officers and was a champion for the families of 6 firefighters killed in the Esperanza fire. It was Mary Bono Mack who pushed through a bill that allowed groups to raise money to help those families without fighting the IRS over taxes. As a result of that terrible fire, Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack discovered there is no national database keeping track of arsonists. She introduced a bill that would create a registry like the one we currently have for sexual offenders, and she got it passed through the House on a unanimous vote. I'm also sure that you've heard that Mary Bono Mack is the first Republican woman to become chairman of a subcommittee for the Energy and Commerce Committee. Absolutely, that's something we can all be very proud of. She's used that leadership role to make the internet a safer place. Her Safe Web Act bill protects against internet fraud, spam, and spyware coming from outside the United States. And once again, she got this bill passed through the House on a unanimous vote.
Wow.
Police officers in Palm Springs have been honored to work with Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack on many projects, but there's one that stands out: her fight against prescription drug abuse. More than 20,000 people die each year from a prescription drug overdose, but the problem is usually hidden in homes where these drugs sit forgotten in medicine cabinets. We were proud to join Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack just this past February in a pill take-back day that allowed people to return any unused prescription drugs to local drugstores for disposal. We look forward to working with her again on these kinds of projects. When any of our local police departments and need federal support, we know Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack will be there right away. When firefighters or police officers are endangered or tragically killed on the job, we know our Congresswoman will be there for us and our families. Mary Bono Mack is our most important advocate in Washington, D.C. I think we all need to work hard, keep up the fight, and get her reelected this next Tuesday. You know, a couple people approached me in the desert recently, and they said to me, "How can you support Mary Bono Mack?" And I looked at him with this confusion, and I said, "You want me to support a man who supports cop killers? You want me to support a man who stands in solidarity and then lies to the voters about that support? Or you want me to stand in support of a woman who has been a friend and strong supporter and advocate of law enforcement?" I think that's an easy answer, don't you? I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Sandifer with the Hemet Firefighters Association for a few brief comments.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for allowing the firefighters to be here today. The good news is that when you call the fire department, we aim to be there in 5 minutes or less, and my speech will be 5 minutes or less, I can assure you of that. Supporting Mary Bono has always been very easy. Anybody that really knows how government works knows that a person needs to be a blend from time to time. You've heard the word bipartisan. Mary is definitely that. Sometimes she's a Republican, sometimes she's a Demopublican. Whatever is necessary to get the job done, and that's smart government. She's been there for the firefighters. She knows about the importance of public safety. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. You've heard it before. Firefighters have been in her office. She's accessible. I know where it is. I've sat with Will and Mary before and talked about things, many times to be told that's a bad idea, Steve. Okay, and when we move on from there, but she's always been willing to at least listen. So for that reason, she stands behind us. She understands the value of public safety, and we're going to stand behind her as long as she's ever trying to be a representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I'd also like to introduce another fellow law enforcement officer, Mr. Leonard Purvis.
Hi, folks. Thank you very much for letting me be here today, and it's an honor for me to speak about Mary to you. And I think there's a theme today. There's a theme of Democrats voting or switching over to Mary. And let me give you a quick example. My wife is a Democrat. She's Hispanic. And she is voting for Mary because she knows Mary is the right person who's going to represent us in Washington. And I'm proud of that. I grew up speaking Spanish. That was my first language. I know Mary understands the Hispanic community, and I know that's why my wife voted for Mary, because Mary understands the Hispanic community. And you're probably looking up here going, hey, what's up with this guy? He's, I grew up with blonde hair, blue eyes, but I spoke Spanish, and I grew up in a Hispanic community. And I'm proud that my wife sees what Mary can do for us as well as I do. In switching gears here toward law enforcement, I've been in law enforcement 25 years. I've lived in San Jacinto for 22 years. I remember when Mary was our representative years ago before redistricting. I remember how active she was in our community, not only in San Jacinto, but the entire district. And I'm very proud to have her come back and have her be our representative again, because I know she's going to do a great job. And I'm also proud that she's going to be representing law enforcement in this district again. Just to give you a quick example of her dedication to law enforcement, I had two killed in the late 90s, and she was there for us. Not only was she there for us, but Sonny was there for us. And for them to be there in such a tragic time, when I lost two of my partners to gunfire, that meant a lot to me. And to see what's happening recently with another person who is running against Mary, who's actively in the past has supported cop killers, that's where I needed to take a step forward and speak my piece and let you know that that's unacceptable for most law enforcement officers. I don't know of any law enforcement officers who could sit back and let that pass. And I know Mary has always been there supporting us, supporting law enforcement, and that's why I'm here today to ask you to also support her and let you know that she is a true friend, not only to law enforcement, but to our district as well. So thank you very much, Mary, and thank you for letting me be here today.
Next, I have the honor of welcoming a distinguished leader in the Republican Party, somebody that really recognizes good Republicans that get the job done. He's been up and down the state. He knows a lot of the Republican candidates, and he chose to be here today to support Congresswoman Mary Bono, and that is the former California GOP chair, Mr. Ron Nearing. Ron, good to see you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to thank you very much for joining us today, and I just want to share one quick thing with you that I learned. I was the chairman of the California Republican Party for 4 years. I was the county Republican chairman in San Diego for 6 years, and I learned that there's two types of people who run for office. There are people who run for office in order to be someone, and then there are people who run for office in order to do something. And the people who run for office to be someone, who are running for office just to get a title, are the least predictable and the least reliable for the values that bring us to politics. Because once they win their office, they've already got it done. They've already accomplished their goals. Everything is then negotiable. But people who run for office to get something done, people who run for office to do something, those are the people who are worth going the extra mile for. Those are the people who will change the direction and the future of the country. Those are the type of people we need more of in Washington. And that's why I'm here today, because Mary Bono Mack is someone who runs for office in order to get something done. And she'll work with Republicans, she'll work with Democrats in order to get it done. And this time, Mary Bono Mack is so blessed by having an opponent who is so wacky, he's even opposed to Thanksgiving, right? Who's opposed to Thanksgiving? Like, what's next? He's anti-Christmas. He's going to upset the Santa Claus vote. I mean, this guy is so far out there. He makes Nancy Pelosi look like a centrist. It's wonderful. This is the type of person you want to run against, who's so far, who's so extreme. If Mary's opponent would go to Washington, he would become part of the problem. Sending Mary Bono Mack back to Washington is sending someone back to be part of the solution, and that's why she's able to bring so many diverse people together behind her. She's part of the solution, and she has been doing her job, and unlike some other folks in Washington who have not been doing her job. And I'm proud of the fact that we have someone representing our state in California who's willing to work with anybody in order to get the job done. And we need someone else in the United States Senate who will also help to get something done. And I'm very pleased that we're joined today by our Republican candidate for United States Senate, who could be anywhere in the state today, but instead she's here supporting Mary Bono Mack. Would you please welcome to the podium our Republican nominee for United States Senate, Elizabeth Emken.
Thank you so much. Hey, thank you so much. You know, Ron's right. It was very important to me to be here today. I am Elizabeth Emken. I'm the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate, and I have every intention, by the way, of unseating Dianne Feinstein in just a couple of days. But I really wanted to be here today because I need Mary Bono Mack in the House of Representatives when I go back to the U.S. Senate, because we already know Mary Bono Mack will send me a budget over to the U.S. Senate, and certainly Dianne Feinstein's now gone, almost 4 years and been unable to produce a budget out of the U.S. Senate. So let's just let the California girls take this thing over, and we will get the United States government a federal budget. So I want to tell you real quickly why it was so important for me to be here today, to support Mary Bono Mack. The reason is, you know, I've known the Congresswoman a long time and had tremendous respect for her. She's one of the original supporters of our children with autism. I have a 20-year-old severely disabled son, and Mary Bono Mack has been such a strong supporter for these kids. We've heard all kinds of stories today about the diverse community that Mary Bono Mack supports, and that's because she is someone who has gone back to Washington to do something, not just to be someone, but to do something. And so I encourage you, I know you're all here to support her, send her back to the U.S. House of Representatives. Please send me to the U.S. Senate. Again, together the California girls will get it done. Thanks so much.
Our next speaker is a guy who really has a tremendous challenge in dealing with Jerry Brown. And I'll tell you that this guy is a fighter for the state of California. He's been a fighter for this valley, and it never ceases to amaze me. I attend a lot of functions as a county supervisor, and you know what? I see Bill Emerson all over the Hemet-San Jacinto Valley all the time. He is a tireless advocate for this valley, and it's an honor to recognize and introduce him today, Senator Bill Emerson.
Thank you very much. You know, when you down the list on all the other speakers, there's not a lot more to say, so I will keep it brief. But I do believe that the voters in California and everywhere else in this nation send us to public office to work together. And Mary Bono has worked together with her colleagues and has been very successful. I was first elected in 2004, and I've worked with Mary on a number of issues over the years. She's always been here for the people of the San Jacinto area, and I'm proud to say that I'm here in support of her today. Just want to say that I am a healthcare provider by profession, and Mary's opponent claims to be a healthcare provider. Actually, Frank was a patient of mine. I was wondering why it took so long to get his case done, and I guess we had a lot of conversations during the time. So I just want to say that Mary's opponent is a emergency room physician, and I say we have a huge shortage of emergency room physicians in the United States. Let's keep him in the emergency room. And let's keep Mary in the House.
That's right. Mary's opponent has made tremendous promises that he can't keep. And even his own party has recognized that. And the medical establishment has come up with a diagnosis for Mary's candidacy called electoral dysfunction. So let's hope we have the right medicine, and that's Mary Bono Mack to take care of that problem. Our next speaker is a very distinguished member of Congress that has been there for over 3 decades, has represented this area in California valiantly, courageously, and has just been an outstanding person. And I've been honored to know him in the 20 years that I've been in office, and he is going to make the introduction to our Congresswoman. He also is going to be retiring after 30-plus years in the House of Representatives. And please give a warm welcome to Congressman Jerry Lewis.
Thank you, Jeff, very much, and thank you all for being here. I wanted to make sure that Frank understood this. I was raised in a family that was somewhat bifurcated. It turns out that my father was a Republican, but my mother was a Democrat. And that's why for all these years, if you wondered, I've been somewhat confused as I worked within the House. It's been said that this is my 34th year in the Congress. My very first year in the Congress, I was in this valley, running for Congress, because it too was a part of my district, as San Jacinto is currently, after a many redistricting. This year, Mary Bono is stealing many a thing from me. There's Banning and Beaumont, there's San Jacinto, etc. But the one thing that we all know, and is most heartwarming to me, is that Mary Bono has made a very, very serious contribution during the time she's served us in the House. It's already been said, she's a chairwoman of a subcommittee of one of the greatest committees in the entire House. She's made a great contribution across the board, largely because she recognizes that the vast percentage of the issues that we deal with have absolutely nothing to do with partisan politics per se. And she approaches the job in a way that tries to find answers and helps all of us get the job done. If we had more of that in Washington, we wouldn't be facing the international crises that we face today. So with that, I ask you to join me in welcoming, as I introduce our permanent Congresswoman, Mary Bono Mack.
Thank you all so much for being out here today. I love that the crowd is all to the right, stage right anyway. I want to start by thanking this amazing group of people up here on the patio or the porch who have spoken on my behalf. Jeff, thank you for your leadership, your words. You are a great fighter for the cause, and I'm honored you would be here. To Frank, to show such political courage to be here as a Democrat for Bono Mack, I thank you for that. Alonzo, muchas gracias para toda su ayuda. For Hutch and law enforcement, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know that I will not ever let you down. Ron Nearing, we miss you. Come back. Please take over the Republican Party in the state of California again. We need you. To Elizabeth Emkin, thank you for standing up, and thank you for running for the United States Senate at such a critical time in our country's history. She is working so hard, and she's doing it with such grace and, dare I say, beauty, and it was an honor to work with you on the autism bill years ago, so thank you for your leadership in that. Bill Emerson, thank you. And last but not least, and I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about my dear friend Jerry Lewis. Jerry is retiring, and it is a great loss for this area of California. It is a great loss for the entire state of California and for our country. I know Jerry and Arlene are going to have a wonderful future ahead of them, whatever they decide to do. But let me just tell you, Jerry has been one of the greatest leaders that Congress has seen. Now, Jerry has exemplified truly bipartisan efforts. You don't know it because Jerry never has stood up and taken the credit for all that he has done. But if you've ever watched Jerry Lewis manage a bill on the floor of the House of Representatives, where other people might take 2 or 3 hours to pass a bill, Jerry would do it in 10 or 15 minutes because he had already worked everybody in the Congress and had bipartisan consensus that what he knew was right. People have always trusted Jerry's work and his leadership, You know, I think in Southern California for years to come, actually generations to come, we're going to see and reap the benefits of all of the hard work that Jerry Lewis and his staff gave to Southern California. So Jerry, I am so honored that you would be here. And just briefly, when my late husband, when Sonny died, which if you can believe this or not, is almost 15 years ago now. It'll be 15 years ago this January. Within, I think the next day, Jerry was in my house, holding our hands, supporting my family. My kids were 6 and 9. Jerry was there for me as a dear friend to Sonny and to me. But little did I know, in Jerry's mind, he was turning the gears away from supporting me to encouraging me to run for the House of Representatives. The idea was hatched in my home with a conversation between Jerry Lewis and my father, my late father. In my dining room, they said, "We're going to get Mary to run for Congress. Just wait till she finds out." So when they finally explained to me that I was going to run for Congress, I had to figure out if I can, in fact, represent the people of my district in the way they deserve, but also raise my children, who were at that time 6 and 9 years old, and if I could be a good mother, a good single mother, and be an effective member of Congress. With Jerry's help, 14 years later, I have done that. My children are now grown. Shortly, my grandson, little baby Sonny, will be arriving at Palm Springs International Airport. I mean, he's already been born. He's not arriving in that way. The stork is not dropping him off. He's 8 months old, and he's flying in with my daughter for election night. This is what my life has been. My children are grown now. So Jerry's maybe decided he's going to take the training wheels off of me and let me be a member of Congress as he watches from on high, wherever he and Arlene will be laughing at us while we're doing 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning votes. But let me tell you, not only have I learned a lot from Jerry Lewis over the years, but when people think about me, they know so much about my late husband, Sonny, and they think she's from Hollywood or she came from a Hollywood background. I met Sonny the night after I graduated from USC. Fight on. Yeah. And but you know who I was and who I think Sonny fell in love with at that time was I am the proud daughter of a World War II veteran. My dad was a waist gunner in a B-17 crew who flew 19 combat missions over Germany. His squadron, his bomb group, was the first bomb group to do daylight raids over Berlin. That is who I am. I am the daughter of a man who taught me that if you want the greatest force of peace throughout the world, then you have to start with a strong United States military. My dad used to speak often about what it was like during World War II to have people, leaders, like Neville Chamberlain. If the name doesn't ring a bell, probably because he's not gone down in history with the greatest of applause. But he talked about leaders who would actually bow to our enemies rather than stand up with strength. He would talk about what a better leader Winston Churchill was, because Winston Churchill always projected strength. My dad taught me you never have peace through appeasing our enemies. Well, you know something? Where we are right now again is the United States of America, is our leader, Barack Obama, has been bowing to our enemies and putting daylight between us and our friends and our allies. That's a mistake. And I say that because of that, the world today is not a safer place. It's a more dangerous place. We need to replace Barack Obama with Mitt Romney on Tuesday, and we're counting on you to do that. We know that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan have what is right for moving our country forward, not only with a strong military, with a strong leadership role, a strong persona coming out of the White House, but also a man in Mitt Romney who knows how to turn our economy around, a man who knows how to create jobs. That the strength of America is not by government spending or growing the size of government. The strength in America is in its people, and it's in its people when we are united. Whether you're Latino, non-Latino, whatever you are, it is a strength in a united people that come together for the good of the United States of America. Mitt Romney is this leader. I have been proud, as Jeff Stone has been, I've been proud to be a co-chair of the campaign in California. Jerry has been a strong supporter of Mitt Romney from the beginning. We look forward to taking our country back on Tuesday, but I cannot win without your support. I want to thank each and every one of you who are here today, who have put in the time in the headquarters, whether you're making phone calls, knocking on doors, all of the hard work that goes into a campaign. And I'm looking at these young folks. Chris my fundraiser, Christine, are here, and they're kind of confusing me because one's in boots and one's in flip-flops. So the point is they're walking precincts today, and they're not quite sure what the season is here in California. Christine thinks it's winter. Chris thinks it's summer. But nonetheless, they're going to go out and walk precincts and knock on doors. Thank you all for being here, for what you're doing. Again, I'm going to spend a little more time visiting with you one-on-one, but I wanted to thank you. We're going to hold this seat. We're going to beat back Nancy Pelosi. We're going to beat back the $5 million that has been spent in this congressional district by outside interests. We're going to win because the people of this area know what is good for this country. And that is our values. That is our values as a united group in America. So thank you so much for coming out today. God bless you. God bless Jerry Lewis in his retirement. And most of all, may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.